Hey! Hi! Oh wow, I haven't done a live stream in a while. Uh, let's hope this goes live properly on time. Um, Hi. So I decided to do this, the wrap up of the J drama Marry My Husband live instead of like an edited video, simply because it'll take me a week to edit the video. And I just didn't want to wait that long to drop this. Plus, I was kind of hoping that I could have some of you on the live and we could actually talk about it, which is the most exciting part of watching a drama like this. Okay, so there is a slight delay between my live stream and when it goes live on YouTube, which I knew theoretically, but I guess the only way you will be affected is sometimes I won't see your comment until like 10 seconds later. So that might happen. Don't worry about like interrupting me while I'm talking. Just type in your thoughts whenever they occur to you. Okay, I kind of want to talk about, I have notes. Friends, I have notes. Can you see this? I have notes. I've tried to not have too many notes because I do want to keep this somewhat loose. But I love the ending so much, guys. And I guess it's a little silly how happy I am that they managed to tie in the first episode and the final episode so neatly. There were so many moments that were mirrored. I have my dog in the background, by the way. You might hear him sometimes. He's been sneezing a lot today. So, yeah, the beginning and the ending really mirrors well. Plus, I love that Suzuki Wataru's character actually got its own screen time about its own conclusion, something that I'd been very unhappy about, both in the K-drama and in the original source material, because they didn't deal very well with why did Ji-hyuk, which is Wataru's Korean version, why did he come back? Like the idea there seemed to be he came back because he was so in love with Jiwon but couldn't confess it in the first life, and they repeatedly had him say that his first life was so boring. It just had no value at all. It didn't matter if he died. I mean, they implied it, they didn't say it, but they kept saying it was so boring. So when he died, it didn't seem to be much of an event, but something that really stuck in my craw was, does the substitution rule only apply to Jiwon or Misa in this case? Are you telling me that the male lead dying and then coming back is devoid of that substitution rule, that it doesn't need to play out that way? Why isn't he having to follow that rule? Why is it just the female lead? And that bothered me so much, which is why I was absolutely delighted when it was very clear that the J-drama planned to properly deal with that in the narration. Okay, I want to start with this moral dilemma that I've been pondering pretty much since the K-drama came out. Now, what, a year and a half back? Wow, it's been that long. And it's basically this question. If you guys were around in the mid 2000s, I'm sure you were. I don't think I have any tweens in my audience. You must have seen this moral dilemma coming up where people were asking, if you go back in time to when Hitler was a baby, I'm not getting this stream monetized. Would you kill him? Was the question. And of course, the divide was, well, Hitler's a baby, hasn't done anything as yet. And the other side was, but he will do something horrible. And I always found that question really reductive, because you're assuming that it's just one person who created that entire situation. It wasn't. There were quite a few decisive events that happened before and while Hitler was rising. He rose on the shoulders of others who had started that movement. And for a while, he was one of the, I wouldn't say conservative, but like relatively less radical characters in their party until he became the worst, of course. But my point is, you're really reducing everything that happened around that time to just one person. If you kill off that one person, that event could be avoided. I used to find that really difficult to comprehend. But, wait, guys, you can't hear me, right? Like, you have to validate my live stream. I don't know, the streaming of this live. So, okay, yes, good, because the chat was paused and I was wondering if I was just, thank you. What was I saying? Yeah, so as soon as you put a substitution rule in that moral dilemma, so you go back in time, Hitler's a baby, but even if you kill him, a different Hitler will rise. That changes the quality of the question entirely, right? You can no longer say, hey, if I kill Hitler, then that cannot, that thing will no longer happen. It will still happen because there is always a substitution. The reason I bring this up is because I felt like the J-dramas really respected the rule of this traveling back in time thing. You can see this with how the ending, like the epilogue of the story plays out. And this stream is going to be full of spoilers, guys. In case you haven't watched the final episodes, I strongly would advise not watching the rest of this live stream. And in the epilogue, you see that Misa and Wataru have waited 10 years before proposing to each other. There's also this scene where Misa is basically, she is the one who's driving them to their date in the wilderness. I don't know why the proposal happened in the wilderness, but it did. She's the one who's driving the car. And of course, the drama doesn't imply anything, but we know that Wataru in his first life dies in a car crash. We understand that Tomoya technically substituted for his death. That is how they look at it. But it seemed to me that they were also not entirely trusting this mysterious force that gave them this rule. They never seem to behave as if they have sufficiently hoodwinked this rule and can now live a peaceful, happy life. It's more like they are taking full advantage of the second chance they got and are living the best life they can, but they haven't stopped being wary of the rule because they don't know who or what created that rule. They don't know how they got this chance. Yes, there is that connection with Misa's father, and towards the very end, you got a moment at the diner with Wataru's mom. But at the end of the day, it's not as if they were the ones who were controlling this second chance. You have to find a substitution rule. Anyway, I really like that they were respecting the rule, which is wholly different from how the K-drama seemed to do it, where Jiwon and Ji-hyuk's energy was like, if we put a box of candy in a certain room, then that is where the murder will happen because fate is that easy to fool and deceive. I did not like that. I don't want my protagonist to A, have zero moral hesitations, and B, act like they were the gods of this world. That's not fun because then they are no longer the underdogs playing against a mammoth force. Then they are the ones who are the perpetrators, who are overly powered and how should I put it? In the K-drama, I had this odd thought at one point in the final act that Jiwon had, in her first life, the villain was Sumin, the worst kind of betrayer in Jiwon's life. But in her second attempt, Jiwon had taken Sumin's place instead of the other way around, in that Jiwon had become the villain. Because she refused to really engage with the moral question of what was happening. And if you become a person who stops questioning the morality of what you're doing, then you're no longer the protagonist. You might be an anti-hero, but that is not the story we are telling here, right? Okay, let me look at the chart for a second. Rule was given a lot more importance in this show, yeah. There were so many loopholes in the Korean version, but also I have to say that the Korean version was, the J-drama version has more of the spirit of the webtoon. I haven't read the web novel, I did read the webtoon, but yes, I will go over that one more time, the whole 10-year wait. So what I was saying was that the J-drama version seems to have more of the spirit of the webtoon. It seemed to treat, like I said, fate with more respect, the rule with more respect, and also Jiwon has so much more agency and is able to act independent of Ji-hyuk in the webtoon. The K-drama makes Jiwon this very this damsel who becomes like, I don't know, this very glamorous, very powerful character within the span of like 6-7 episodes, after which it just, the only way her world can, she needs to be wronged further for her to do more harm, and so they kept escalating the stakes. And that's not how it plays out in the webtoon, because webtoons have a different story structure, where even if the final act is somewhat flat in conflict, people don't mind, because it comes out in this very long serialized manner that they don't really care if the final arc is a bit tepid. It doesn't feel tepid. They just want a satisfying conclusion. They don't necessarily want like this climactic third act. So yeah, the J-drama respected the spirit, but I think the K-drama actually stuck more to the technical storyline of the webtoon. What it did was, it lacked the spirit of the webtoon, which is why a lot of the people who have loved the webtoon really like the J-drama version. I got so many comments on various posts I made where people were like, I love the webtoon, hated the K-drama, the J-drama is doing it so much better. Because even if it changed the story in the final half, it actually dealt with Wataru's backstory and coming back and that side of the rule. It still had kept the spirit. I don't know how else to say it. So hold on. This one. I was just talking about this. The thing where they were waiting for 10 years to finally properly move on with their lives. Yeah, exactly. Because at the end of the day, it's not like they can call in somewhere and ask, hey, have we satisfied your rules enough? Are we allowed to just live out our lives? They don't know. They don't know when there might be a googly and they might have to like struggle against something else. So instead, both Wataru and Misa, at different times, they tell each other that they need each other in their second life. Basically discussing that even if they can't figure out a solution immediately, they will keep struggling against fate to have this second life, have the best version of it, which I really liked. Yeah, the K-drama also didn't, the K-drama basically got stuck with its usual, yes. The K-drama basically got stuck with the usual problem with K-drama second halves. They had to have like a very, memorable final few episodes. And part of that has to do with advertising money. I've explained that in a previous video. It just because ratings always start tanking in the second half. That's almost inevitable. So they always try to put in just more conflict, more everything, so that the stakes are higher. You will tune in to see what happens. That's why all of the breakups happen around episode 11, 12. That's kind of why, because you still have 4 more episodes to go. So if there isn't a new conflict, people won't keep tuning in to watch. But then they have overplayed their hand so many times that this, I don't think it works as well anymore. It used to work pretty well in the 2010s. I don't think it works that well anymore. I also sympathized more with Reina than with Sumin, because Sumin was really interesting in the first half, like the first 6, 7 episodes. But because they kept doing that thing where they kept elevating the stakes, they introduced the ex-fiance angle where she is even worse than Sumin. At which point Sumin just kind of became irrelevant because the drama couldn't seem to handle too many females there. What do we do with this extra one? So Sumin kind of got put in the back burner for a bit because they had a new female villain. And yeah, it was kind of sad. Yeah, and the thing is that with Reina, she never stopped being smart. Do you know one of my favorite moments? Let me see if I can. I took so many screenshots. It should be somewhere over here. Wait, what am I showing in my? Yeah, okay, cool. By the way, this is a really stupid thing, probably, but this moment in the cafe, I want these two actors to do a spy drama or something, okay? Because they have all of the hate energy possible, but that is real chemistry right there. This. And also this moment where Reina's walking through the kitchen, she takes off her hairband, her coat, and then she's indicating towards Wataru to take off his earpiece, which she does like in a very smooth movement. I was like, yeah. They need to be in a spy movie together, and they need to hate each other. That's clearly the energy they have. I just so what I really loved about this entire sequence was how. Listen, Reina is insane. She is insane. I'm not denying that. But can we agree that this woman, she's smart? Like, she has pulled a long con for something like 20 years with Misa's help. Because one of the things I really like about these two in this particular scene, by the way, we are in heavy spoiler territory right now, in case you guys didn't notice. Yeah, okay. You know, I take my chemistry wherever I can get it. And it just happened to be there. I sensed this chemistry during their car ride as well. The one where, I think it was somewhere between episode 4 and 6, where Reina was basically bitching about Misa. And Wataru kind of let her go on for a bit before calling her out. And then they have that moment outside the Jeep where she sort of like gets real close to his face, which Wataru later shows Misa. She was like, right here. That was hilarious. But the point is, the chemistry was already there. Sometimes villainous chemistry is also chemistry. We just have to appreciate it wherever we get it. It was funny. It was fun. No, so this particular scene here was. I got goosebumps while watching this scene because, for one thing, it was creepy, but also the way this harkens back to the first episode, the opening sequence where. BB, like tiny Misa and Reina are in this, what is it called? Carousel? Ferris wheel. Cabinet box? No, that's not what it's called. Whatever it's called. Somebody help me out here. Carriage? What is this thing called? You know, the thing that they're in. Chairs? Anyway, so they are in one of those, and there is the teen version of them, and it's really cute and it's really happy, and in the background you have Misa's voice. Like, this is Misa when she's like dying. She's in a really bad place. These are the opening. This is the opening shot. And her voiceover is saying that I didn't have such a bad life. I had plenty of good memories. And they are showing like the happiest memories of her life, meeting Reina when she meets Tomoya, when she gets married to Tomoya, things like that. And it's very clear that she is in that abused state of mind where she's just skipping over all the horrid things and focusing on the few parts of her memory that were kind of happy. But she is, in essence, lying to herself. And so, even towards the end of the first episode not towards the end of the first episode, the end of the first sequence where she gets murdered, and she's finally able to admit to herself that she actually had a pretty crummy life, this sequence was this right here. This is where she's finally able to admit that she had a crummy life. And it's and it's just, she was lying to herself about what her life was. She was also lying about how much of a friend she actually considered Reina. So when at the end she is telling Reina, I was a bad friend to you too. I didn't actually consider you a friend. I was just never interested in you, because Misa has been saying that for a while now. Reina has been saying that for a while now, that you have no interest in my life. And it's actually kind of funny if you think about it. Reina managed to lie about her parents, and Misa just accepted that without question. She's known this girl for 20 years, and has apparently no idea about Reina's real background, which is how little interest Misa has in this girl. Neither of them were good friends to each other. Reina was just the more murderous of the two. They had really toxic codependency going on. So I really loved that Misa admits it. I cannot imagine Jiwon doing that in the Kdrama. Guys, I enjoyed the Kdrama. I did. But I just, like, watching the J-drama makes me realize how much better that show could have been in certain aspects, which is frustrating. But I'm so happy we got this. Okay, let me see. You guys are still talking about Wataru and Reina's chemistry, which I completely understand. That is exactly as it should be. Because that's just Sato Takeru, right? It's he has a stupid amount of chemistry with, I don't know, a lot of people. Like often chemistry with characters he should absolutely not be having chemistry with. Watch his other works to find out what I mean. Okay, hold on. I love how Reina does this whole thing to make sure Misa is traumatized, and then Reina says goodbye and walks away to live out her life in peace. Insane frenemy. I really appreciated how, so in the first episode where Misa gets murdered, Reina's the one to let her go. In the last episode, Misa stops Reina from, pitching both of them out of the hangy carriage Ferris wheel thing. So Misa gets up and she's like, well, this is all your fault. You should remember this forever. And she starts pitching herself back. Misa catches her. And then Reina is also, again, the one to let go, mirroring what happened in the first episode. Because Reina will not allow Misa to have her own life with other people. She will not allow anybody else to come between them, including Wataru. And the only way she's willing to let Misa go is in death. That is an interesting amount of attachment right there. Hold on, let me read some of the comments. Did it bother anyone that when Wataru got stabbed by Reina, he somehow walked to the amusement park? And he was Still fighting. Yeah, even though he was beating someone. So Japanese Twitter was kind of in a tizzy about it, and people were like, "This is him showing his past as an action hero because he's done some." Movies and dramas where he's been an action hero. So that's him. And his flying kiss is a signature move. So that's where he's pulling it from. Because how did a nerd suddenly start? Where did he learn how to do a flying kick? How is that? It's okay. This amount of drama. Because you guys, that fight in the snow. What the heck was that fight in the snow? Let me see if I can find a shot of that. Because that was hilarious. And it was bizarre. Just this whole thing. Like, why did we have this? And then, like, this entire sequence felt a bit like a filler because it didn't achieve anything. Like, Reina coming back to her hometown. That song, by the way, that they added when Reina was just walking around taking pictures, I love that. It's really eerie, but also just really beautiful song. And then she goes, finds Misa's grandmom, just like pitches her in the snow somewhere, and then has like a bit of a fight with Misa, and then walks away. It was a completely unnecessary sequence, but yeah. So there are a couple of scenes like that in the final few episodes, which, you know, will happen. Jiwon as a character was constantly being told she was stupid, she was not allowed to look flawed. Yeah, I agree. She was not allowed to look flawed, and also, how was she too good? See, again, the thing that I really like about Misa's characterization is that she's not too good. Even when Wataru is like, you are not capable of being evil enough to take these people out, you can never win. At a later point, she's like, well, you know, if Tomoya dies, then you will likely live. And I'm okay with that. I'm capable of being that evil. And I'm like, yes. Because at no point is anybody saying that Misa is too good. She's a saintly being. Jiwon, on the other hand, kept being told by people that she was a really good person. Based on what? Aside from trying to save her one colleague, she hardly does anything for anybody. I don't know. I'm not sure entirely. Like, being the victim doesn't automatically make you a good person. Because she has the mentality of certain kinds of oppressors who, if they were victimized in the past, they come out fighting and they're like, it's okay if I oppress other people now because I was once a victim. So that's not fun. That's not great. It is a weirdly bully-like mentality. Okay. Hold on. Well, I think I missed out on comments. But Reina lied about everything, so she projected an image and then got angry that Misa didn't notice. But again, that was what Misa meant, but it was all her fault too. Yeah, yeah. But again, if your friend has been lying about her background, her parents, everything for 20 years and you don't even know, you really need to question if you really are her friend, because how do you not know? It's too many years of knowing each other, going to each other's houses, attending each other's, like, I don't know, you know, successes, failures, birthdays, relatives, deaths, all of that. How does she not know? So the drama leaves that space for you to question the characters, because Misa readily admits that she wasn't interested in Reina. That for the longest time, even though she was afraid that nobody else wanted to befriend her, she also wanted to not be close to Reina. But Reina had created a situation where she just couldn't escape. And Misa wasn't an idiot. She could see it. She was just too codependent to actively do anything about it. She needed to literally die to change her behavior pattern. Yeah, that was very real. Let me see. Crazy theory. Maybe Reina loved Misa. That's why she could. I mean, yeah, in a very toxic way, she did love Misa. Just because somebody is very close to you. Have you guys never had a friend like that in your life? Like, I'm not talking about romantic love here because honestly, the drama doesn't explore it. It's not explored in the text, and they haven't shown that any hint of that. So I'm not really talking about romantic love, but you can have toxic love between friends. And at least when I was a kid, I had one friend that we were really both bad for each other. She was bad for me, I was bad for her, and our teachers figured it out. And my class teacher kind of put us in different sections. We have sections in Indian schools. And I could finally make other friends. I couldn't before. I thought I was just completely unlovable and people hated me. Apparently, people didn't hate me. I just gave off, I don't know, some kind of energy that just put people off while I was with my friend. And she was in another section and she could make friends too. We were just really bad together. Sometimes that happens. But in this case, things got murderous. So I can relate, but also, yeah. Also, yeah, I really liked how, I liked the integration of social media here. It was very 2015. I love that they both admitted the darkness in them, wanted others to die so they could live, no matter how guilty they felt. Yeah. Because that's the thing. It's not like I had a problem with Jiwon and Ji-hyuk wanting to survive. Surviving is a very basic, foundational thing for humans. Of course you want to survive and you want your loved ones to survive, you want your friends to survive. But not being able to properly face up to the fact that what you're doing is villainous because you want your loved ones to survive, but what you're still doing is wrong. Not being able to face up to that makes you a character I can't respect anymore. But, I actually really enjoyed how the K-drama's final episode panned out because nothing went to plan. Fate clearly was like, you guys think you can trick me with a jar of candies? And then, that doesn't happen. A very different series of events plays out. And I love that. Because it was basically fate saying, no, you can't fool me like that. However, by that time, I'd already lost respect for our protagonist, so that kind of didn't work for me. Yeah, Reina was definitely, it was jealousy and love. Because there are scenes where you can almost see Reina's affection for Misa, and moments where Misa is like Misa in her second life is cruelly blunt to Reina, and you can see her face fall and like real hurt show through. By the way, the actress who plays Reina, dude, I mean the actress who played Sumin absolutely has my respect. That was some insane tier acting. But the actress who plays Reina, how do they keep casting like this? She was incredible. I don't know how to say it. There were so many complex layers of emotions that she was displaying. I initially thought that she was going to be playing the Reina character at like a really high psychotic pitch the entire time. That was my assumption, but that's not how she actually did it. She had quiet moments, she had hurt moments, she had moments where she seemed to almost genuinely be pleasant and then taken aback when Misa doesn't receive it that way, because obviously she doesn't. So yeah, I really like that she could do all of that range. And at the end, in that Ferris wheel thing, guys, someone help me out. What is it called? A car? Is it called a car? The thing that hangs from the Ferris wheel? Why is it this one word that I can't figure out? When Misa tells Reina that she doesn't, she was never interested in her, that she never really saw her as a friend and always wanted to get away from Reina, and Reina didn't scream at her. She kind of went all quiet and was like, I know, I've always known that you want to get away from me, which is why I was holding on to you harder. I just, the dialogue in this drama, they were so good, because at no point did I ever feel like any of the interactions were inconsistent with who these people were, if that makes sense. Kevin, yeah, maybe Kevin. Yeah. Hold on, I have to refer to my notes. Otherwise, if I keep on like this, I'll never talk about anything except Reina and Misa and their toxic love. Sorry, I started the whole thing with like baby Hitler, right? That kind of question, that kind of moral dilemma, doesn't need to be answered. There is no yes or no answer to an open-ended moral dilemma like this. If somebody says, well, you know, that's just a baby, you can always, the other side can argue, but that baby will grow up. No matter what you do, if that baby is the linchpin, then he will become that no matter which path you make him take. It's just it's a thought exercise, because obviously time travel does not exist. This is not something you actually have to do. But what you're essentially debating is ends versus means. Are the ends justified? Like, are the means justified if the end is good, if what you're trying to achieve is good? And I feel like one of the major differences between the J-drama and the K-drama has been that the K-drama seems to say the ends justify the means. No matter what path Jiwon and Ji-hyuk take, because Sumin and Minhwan and ex-fiancé, whose name I don't remember, are so evil, they deserve all bad things, and therefore there is no wrong path. The end justifies it. The J-drama seem to be saying the means matter. The journey you take to get to the end matters, which is why it's important that Suzuki, Wataru, and Misa get to their, like, throughout the J-drama, Misa always manipulates Tomoya and Reina into doing things that they actually have an inclination to do already. Like, she provides the triggers, but she doesn't push them. She creates an environment where Reina's jealousy is triggered, so she seduces Tomoya, and Tomoya cheats on Misa, and then she, you know, creates the situation where, like, sorry. Then Reina creates the situation where Tomoya is forced to marry her, because she feels, because her own inclinations create the urge for her to do that, if it makes sense. Like, Misa uses Tomoya and Reina's own weaknesses against them. She doesn't grab them by the neck and force them to do things, which is what the K-drama was often doing. If they wouldn't do it by themselves, then they will be tricked into doing it, which is not how the substitution rule should work. Because if it is a philosophical practice, the idea is that if something triggers something else, then you need to shift the trigger slightly so it triggers something else, but in a similar way. That's what Misa was doing. She was playing with the triggers. She already knew what Misa's trigger was, what Tomoya's triggers were, so she was playing with them. At no point was she willing to go beyond that, which is why Misa felt so happy once Reina and Tomoya were married. We knew, those of us who have watched the previous versions, that that is not the end. It can't be the end, because Reina is not Misa. Reina will not live out the same life that Misa did. Tomoya was also, to a certain extent, in love with Misa when he married her. In this situation, Tomoya married Reina under duress. So it would not work out the same way. That was very obvious. But also, hold on, the actress who plays Reina is really young, yeah. Um, Yeah, so because Misa had analyzed their behavior pretty well, she was using the same triggers that probably had caused their actions in the first life and tried to make it happen in the second life, but in a way that benefits Misa. That's what she was trying to do, and she succeeded in large parts, except for, like I said, after marriage, that didn't necessarily mean that their life would play out the way Misa's had, because Misa just tolerated abuse for 10 years. Reina is not the kind of person who would. She's the kind of person who would punch her mother-in-law in the nose, which, by the way, I was so satisfied because the actress who was playing Tomoya's mom was so infuriating. I was angry on Reina's behalf. That hospital scene was... dude, I was really mad and kind of happy that the lady's nose was not spared. Hold on, I have a picture of that. I don't know why this feels. Oh yeah, this one. Also, the fact that Reina actually, in her own twisted way, kind of enjoyed the whole mother-daughter play acting that they were doing, because it was play acting from the mother-in-law's perspective. She didn't actually see Reina as a mom. It just... like one of you said a little while back, it's Misa is actually sympathetic. The show manages to make, sorry, not Misa. Reina is actually sympathetic. The show manages to show us why she did what she did and her thinking patterns, but never excuses any of it. Like the show never tries to justify Reina's actions. It just tells us very clearly the kind of person Reina is and what she is most likely to do. So, which is why I like that once she had punched her mother-in-law in the nose, she tracked down her husband back in her hometown. That the fact that when they were traveling back, oh, that whole insurance thing plays out. And Tomoya's mom was also the instigator in the first life. She was the one who had figured out how to change the beneficiary name. And she's also the trigger in second life, which is what I mean. Like, Misa can't account for every trigger out there. There are so many different influences happening that create the exact pathway that she had lived in her first life. Misa can't do it alone, and you do get that sense in the J-drama, like you can't control all the forces. So I like that they showed that here. But also the fact that Misa Misa gave her trust despite all the abuse to her husband, to her best friend. But Reina's not that person. So while they were traveling back in the bus, Reina doesn't get fooled by Tomoya. She figures out exactly what his trick is. And she pays him back in the same coin, which I liked a lot. I also found that moment where Tomoya calls up Misa right before the crash happens. Hoy, that was, because for a second there, and this was a theory that was going around when this portion, I think towards episode 9's end, there was a theory that was going around. Hold on. That Tomoya telling Misa over the phone that he wishes he could do it all over, it just made all of us kind of like really scared that the drama, I don't know, was going to give Tomoya a second chance too. Because can you imagine a loop within a loop What if Tomoya dies and he also gets a second chance? And this time manages to get Misa back in his life again. They'll basically be repeating their first life. If he doesn't cheat on Misa with Reina, he would cheat on her with somebody else, because that is essentially who Tomoya is. You guys remember, like, when they were dating, like, very early on, again, this is why I like the Kdrama so much. Because Misa remembers why it was, I think it was the night when Tomoya and Reina cheated on her in the second timeline. And Misa's telling Wataru that the reason I fell in love with him, with Tomoya, is because he refused to take Reina's number, even though I was used to men approaching me just to get to Reina, like, all of our life, and I was just resigned to it. He refused. Such a small thing made me fall in love with this man. And so she was just reflecting on how deeply ironic and sad it is that she was sitting there while Tomoya and Reina were cheating. Why did I talk about that? Wow, I have just, hold on. Oh yeah, the loop thing. So it was scary to think that he would also get a second chance, because he doesn't deserve it. But more importantly, that would just make our Misa relive her terrible life, because that is what this man, where is it? Yeah, this man would do. He would never be a better person. Hold on. Am I? Yeah, miss any of your comments? That's why when Reina and Tomoya get angry and being Misa, it feels like, oh, you chose this yourself as well. Yeah. Yeah. Again, that's the thing. That doesn't it make the story so much more satisfying when you consider that Tomoya and Reina, every choice they made in the duration of this drama and in Misa's second life, the choices were all of their making. All of them. At no point did Misa use an external force to, like, I don't know, push them towards something. She just created the environment and they actively chose to walk that path. Which is why it's satisfying when, you know, the two of them turn against Misa and, like, it's all your fault. But it's not, though, because they actively made all of the choices. Misa didn't force them at any point. They could have not made those choices. It was completely a possibility. Whereas in the K-drama, I got the sense after episode 6, 7, it progressively became a situation where they were not making their own choices. They were being forced, manipulated, and guided towards making choices. Oh yeah, so did I. So when Reina does the the punch, I couldn't figure out what happened. So I was like, could she have killed her mother-in-law with one punch? It did kind of feel like that was a possibility, but yeah, no, it was just a smooshed nose, which was hilarious to me. Hold on, let me check in with the comments. No, listen, you can tell a story, a redemption arc for a character like this. Perhaps it's possible. I would actually be far more interested to see if it's even possible to do a life redo redemption arc for someone like Reina. Because Tomoya is an idiot. Like, I'm almost fond of him. He's such an idiot. He Googles how to murder, how to commit the perfect crime. No, but that is such a mid-2010s thing too, right? Because I remember real-life crimes, like when investigations were happening, you had these true crime documentaries, and they'd be like, we found it in their browser history. This person was looking up how to commit such and such crime. And I'm like, yeah, that felt like a 2010s thing to do. But yeah, he's an idiot. I don't care about his redemption arc. I would love to see if a writer, like, has to be a really talented writer, to convince us that Reina can be redeemed. But it would kind of be funny. It would kind of be interesting to watch. Um, yeah, that's my answer too. um, Yeah, Misa also doesn't bother because she just can't wait to get away from them. She was like, the wedding is the end date, and then I'm done with them. They are together. I need to have nothing to do with them. So she completely blocks them from the next day. I love it. But what she fails to account for is that Reina has been obsessed with her for so long. Tomoya is still not over her. Both of them are unwilling to let her go. So it doesn't matter if she cuts them off, her stalkers are still very much. Like, I loved how Reina is just, after her wedding, she's kicking back in her apartment. Tomoya is like, can you help move things? And she's like, we'll just call Misa. You know, your ex, my bestie who's surprisingly forgiven me for everything I've done, she'll just come and help us. She's surprisingly useful at these times. And then Misa's blocked her everywhere. That was so satisfying. That was great. Yeah, 2010s when people didn't realize the internet is forever. That is true. Which toxic husband was better, J-drama or K-drama? The J-drama one was almost sympathetic in that you could kind of see that from Tomoyo's point of view, there is this moment in the car when Suzuki is like, we will drive to our death together, you and me, comrade. So Suzuki asked something to the effect of, do you think someone can, harm others just to benefit themselves? Like, is it okay to, I forget exactly what he had asked, but it was something to that effect. Is it okay if to make other people suffer if you're protecting yourself or the ones you love? And Tomoya says, no, that would be a jerk thing to do. The most oblivious answer in the world, because this guy is constantly making Misa suffer. He is constantly blaming other people and like pushing his obligations onto other people to protect himself. And he says that. And I think more than anything, the point the drama was making is that Tomoya sees himself as a good person. He sees himself as a victim. Misa's victim, Reina's victim, Wataru's victim. And in his head, he thinks he really loved Misa. That cheating on her was just a mistake he made, but he's actually a good guy. He's trying to do the right thing, but he just keeps being tripped up. Like his senpai was the one who fooled him into investing not just his own money, but borrowed money in cryptocurrency. Yeah, it's, why did I start talking about that? Oh, who's the more toxic husband? He's the most sympathetic husband, but yeah, the toxic one. Dude, Minhwan. There is that one moment where I feel like the K-drama one was almost trying to do something where Minhwan finds out that Sumin isn't actually pregnant. Or rather, he thinks that Sumin lost the baby. And he is crying because it feels like a real loss to him. It felt like the K-drama was trying to tell us that Minhwan, in his very limited way, also has compassion and grief. He can still be a murderer, though. But so it was, I think the more toxic husband was Minhwan, and also the more interesting one to watch on screen. But Tomoya, given the amount of psychotic behavior we had in Reina, I think Tomoya just being somebody who believed he was good but was constantly doing wrong, I think his level of idiot energy was enough. Otherwise, we would have gone really deep into melodrama mode. Comment. Reina could have lived a good and happy life if she wasn't so obsessed with Misa. Yeah, like even till the final moment. Of course, Misa doesn't know that Reina had just stabbed Wataru. And punched her mother-in-law, and she probably did know that Reina had conspired to kill Tomoya, but not the Wataru thing yet. And she was like, walk away from me, and then live your own life. And Reina's like, dude, I'm headed for jail. I am dying with you because there's no way out for me. I just enjoyed that a lot. But yeah, she could have if she wasn't so constantly obsessed. Uh, Actually, yes, you're not wrong. Minhwan did feel more of a caricature. He was a caricature of an abusive husband. Like everything about him was just amped up to the nine. Um, but the actor was like he did play that in a way that was very. I don't know. It was really interesting. Both Sumin and Minhwan's actors they managed to imbue a certain amount of I don't know evil energy, but. The kind where you could almost see the human aspect in them, like a more humane version of them, the version that can't actually exist because the evil side of them has done so much wrong. The moment in the car was amazing, how it... Yeah, so let's talk about Suzuki Wataru and his great and dumbass plan to save the script. I just made a video, like I had just watched till episode 8, and I was complimenting the man for not being one of those male lead characters who, it seems like he's letting the female lead deal with whatever conflict is coming up, like he really trusts her, but he actually has a backup for a backup. I hate that so much because it shows so little trust. Suzuki doesn't quite do that. He instead has a secret, the fact that he died and came back. He refuses to admit it, and I'll come back to that. Give me a second, because I think it's really interesting why he hides that from Misa. But the second thing is, once Tomoyo comes to attack Misa, both Misa and Wataru realize that the wedding wasn't the ending. Them being married doesn't mean that Misa will now be spared. Misa's life is probably still at risk. Of course, Misa was playing a long game. It's not like she was expecting, Tomoyo and Reina to kill each other right then or something. She was still expecting that this is an event that will happen 10 years in the future. And Misa was okay with that long game, so long as she could just push them out of her life. So she already had uncertainty, but at this point, once Tomoyo comes and attacks Misa, this guy is like, Suzuki's like, I don't think we can play this game anymore. Let us end this quickly. And because he was not okay with being a murderer, he was like, let's do a suicide murder. That way I don't have to worry about the guilt. My death will be taken care of. Plus, Tomoyo can count for your death. And yeah. Listen, I completely agree. But here's the thing. I understood his perspective. He did not like how uncertain things were. Like, how long was Misa going to keep dodging Tomoya and Reina? Like, she's already done everything she could to push them together. But if their life now doesn't play out the way hers had, that means these two are constantly going to come at her. And so her life is at risk. Wataru was responding to that by doing the whole fall off the bridge act. But I genuinely loved how Misa stopped them. She was just, not only did she stop the car, that's fun, that was very good timing. She drags Tomoya out, gets in the car, and they drive off. That was, I know that's a serious moment, but I was laughing so hard. And this is why I'm so fond of the actor who plays Tomoya, because he's just looking at the car, like driving away. Ah, that was good. That was really good. It was out of character, but again, like I said, it seemed to be triggered by the realization that the long game that Misa was playing, um, she no longer has control over the actions of Reina and Tomoya beyond this point. Like what else can she manipulate them into doing? She's not about to manipulate them into killing each other. And unlike Ji-hyuk, Wataru is not about to, I don't know, kidnap Tomoya and beat him up. It's just, that's simply not the kind of people these are. So Suzuki took it upon himself. I did think it was kind of hilarious how stupid the plan was. Because how does he know that Tomoya's death would substitute for Misa's? This was a part where he was showing that arrogance that I didn't like in the Kdrama, where he seemed to think that he could, just, if Tomoya dies, it must substitute for Misa because he had decided it would. That simply not anything had played out until that point. So that's something. But yeah, I loved that Misa she called him out, but also this moment, hold on, let me see if I can find it, because I found that so adorable. This one. This was so cute. We didn't get enough romantic moments between these two. But this one was, yes, this. Kept him on a leash. I love that. I love that they were walking together and she was refusing to let go of his belt because I wouldn't trust him either. The man just tried to do something very, very stupid. Oh yeah, why did Wataru keep his, coming back in time, his death and coming back a secret? Not because he had this plan from the very beginning. I don't actually think he did. Instead, what I think happened, hold on, let me see if I had written anything else down. Okay, the reason I think he kept it a secret from Misa was because he didn't have a convenient Reina and Tomoya. He didn't have somebody else to take on as a substitute for his death. As far as he knows, he is still going to be dying. So what is the point of telling Misa? Like, one of the reasons he seemed so reluctant to directly woo Misa, and he was happy that it was happening, but he was almost, like, he was not even trying to warn off his rival. It was something that I really liked, the fact that he wasn't taking it for granted that he would end up with Misa. And the one time when he was expressing his hope for the future to a sleeping Misa, he was like, I hope we can go to a movie one day. Which they do, they watch My Name, yay. Or, learn each other's taste in music and food, all the things that normal people do when they fall in love, get to know each other, have a relationship. But he couldn't imagine doing any of that because as far as he knew, he was still going to die. Because there was nobody to take his place. And this is a conflict I was so mad at the K-drama for not bringing up. Episode 12 breakup, they needed Jiwon and Ji-hyuk to break up. Why not use this? They never explored the fact that Ji-hyuk would have also needed a substitute. He was also going to die. Hoy. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. He wasn't going to get some random person to die for him. That's precisely my point. Yeah, and also that he is. I've seen several of Sato Takeru's dramas before. And he's one of those actors who is very subtle with his acting. He's not hugely expressive. You really have to watch his eyes, the tilt of his head. But there is something really watchable about him. When he's on screen, when he is, he is especially good in action movies and dramas, especially when he was younger, because there is a lot of physicality to him. The older he's grown, he doesn't take on that kind of role anymore. So all of his acting is now limited to his face, which again, he's not a very expressive actor. Despite that, he manages to be so darned watchable. I can't explain it. Every single time that I've seen him in something, I start by thinking, my God, he's not being very expressive. But by the end of the drama, I have had a full experience, a whole range of emotion from him. But yeah. Sorry, what was I saying? Why did I start talking about this? Yeah. The look in his eyes when Misa confesses. Yep, completely. He didn't even need to say anything. I saw, I think on a Reddit thread where somebody was like, they should have let him, propose in the end during that proposal scene. They should have just let him do it because Misa had already confessed her love. They should, and yeah, maybe. But I really like the moment where Misa's like, marry me, and he's like, but I was gonna say that. I don't know. It just worked for me. I like that he's soft-spoken. I like that he has, he says 2 words to like 5 of hers. Misa's not a very yappy person either. I just like that they vibe with each other and they calm each other down even more when they're next to each other. So that was actually, it just really worked for me. First ever time seeing him. Look up some of his other stuff. He's actually really good. I think his Incurable Love is on Netflix. I don't know about his other dramas. I generally don't tend to enjoy dramas like Incurable Case of Love simply because the age difference, also the ingenue in love with this older senior. I don't love that dynamic, but I watched it for him. He's eminently watchable. I haven't watched Cells at Work. I've been meaning to. Yeah, absolutely. This drama is so much better than Incurable Case of Love. Incurable Case of Love is one of those dramas that I think I would have enjoyed far more if I was like 15 years younger. The number of dramas that I no longer find enjoyable that I know for sure I would have enjoyed just 5 years ago. Guys, being in my mid-30s is ruining things. I'm way too cynical now. Okay, back to my notes. Let me see. Oh, the scene, I don't think I have a screenshot of this, with Reina and Wataru in the car where she's like, kiss me. I was like, let's not do that. I did think you guys had chemistry before, but not this. I don't want this. I don't want any forced blackmailed kisses. And then she stabs him. Like, he attacks her first, of course. Justified stabbing. No, but it was, I loved it because Reina at the end of the day does not want Wataru. She has not an iota of interest in the man. What she wants is for Wataru to disappear from Misa's life. So, Reina can just have Misa and Misa can have Reina and they can just hate each other in peace. Why can't the men go away? No, but yeah, and then of course poor Wataru had to fight with that injury. I also did find that thing really interesting where Wataru is in this really bad state, the doctor's given up hope, everybody's crying, nah ha ha ha, and then the heartbeat monitor kind of, it flatlines. But it's not his, it's Tomoya's, and Wataru lives. Listen, dramatic moments, I live for dramatic moments like that. Like, we all knew it was going to be like that, but I still thought, good editing there. I enjoyed that. Uh, yeah, same. I don't think I can rewatch it now. Um, oh yeah, yeah, no, I am completely on Wataru's side. It's not that I'm judging him for trying to kill her. He knows Misa's life is in danger. He understands the situation. He's not going to kiss her no matter how she's blackmailing her. So I completely understand that. I'm not defending the stabbing. I'm just saying it's kind of hilarious when you see it that way. Um, yeah, me too. Especially because I don't know. I was not expecting Reina to do that. But after she did, I was like, yeah, this makes sense. Of course, she wants to kill Wataru. She does not want the guy around. Um, this is about incurable case of love. And yeah, I mean, again, part of me would still probably enjoy parts of the story. I don't deny it, which is why I brought it up. Like, I so more recommendation. Oh, for all four of the cast, I haven't watched a lot. The female lead right now is in a drama with Matsumoto Jun. They're doing a medical drama. Apparently, I haven't like verified this on Google, but apparently Japan doesn't have a general practice department. So Matsumoto's character joins this hospital that has 18 departments or specializations, but of course sometimes if you go without, with like vague symptoms and none of the tests come back with anything, they don't know who to refer you to, so you just keep circling around different departments trying to figure out what's wrong with you. And it's become like a situation where the patient doesn't get treated, but the hospital makes a lot of money from your visits. So they are adding a 19th department, which is the general practice department. Matsumoto is the first doctor there. And he is just, I've seen one episode, and he's 42 years old. Guys, do you know Matsumoto is, if you guys have watched Boys Over Flowers, because most of you come to my channel from the Kdrama fandom, that's why I'm bringing up Boys Over Flowers. Watch the original Japanese version. Well, the original version was a webtoon, but watch the Japanese version, and if you didn't enjoy Boys Over Flowers, you will enjoy the Japanese version. And that was Matsumoto Jun. I love that guy so much. And he's 42 years old now. Sorry, totally different drama. My point is she's in there. She's a young third-year doctor who's very earnest and really doesn't like the fact that she, didn't correctly diagnose one of the patients that she was dealing with, but this general practitioner came in and he figured it out. But she's very humble about it. She wants to learn from him. And I like the first episode. Let's see how the rest of the drama goes. So I think it's on Netflix, so it should be accessible easily. Okay, man. Actually, only watch it. Yeah. Okay, see, good. Thank you, Nishma. Cabins, pods, capsules. So in one of those, that's where the final scene happened. Cells at Work seems to be good. I'm going to watch it. It's on my watch list, but I have not got to it yet. Who are we talking about? I was shocked. Interesting how K-drama had the males younger while the women were older. Oh, do you mean Nainu's character is much younger than Park Bin-young's in the K-drama? Yes, but also that has its own reasons, and historically that's because the younger actors go for the dramas first, and then they graduate into the film industry, which is where the more prestigious projects used to be. Now you have like the Netflix series that has a lot of money and prestige. But yeah, so young actors start as love interests, etc., in dramas, graduate to movies, whereas actresses, understandably, most of them start from movies when they're very young, do a bunch of them, and then by the time they're in, like closing in on 30, they stop getting projects because the movie industry is dominated by very sexist men. And then they graduate into dramas, which is why you have that age discrepancy amongst actors. You have women in their late 30s paired with men in their mid 20s, and they try to bring in the age as close as possible in fiction, but that's the reason why that kind of pairing happens. Also, the army plays a part in, yeah, sure, the army also plays a part in it. Before going to have a career when they come back. Absolutely, the army does play a part in it in many ways. Also, it's a weird thing. It's like if you consider if you consider how the general job market works, you would think because women would have those extra 2-3 years right after college, they would generally be ahead of men. But that's not how it works. Even though men have basically been under ME, military enlistment, for a couple of years, they come back and they smoothly slide into higher positions because sexism. But if women take like 9 months off to pop out a baby, they can never come back to the workplace at the same position again. They have to start at a lower position unless they're in a really good company and they actually got like proper leave. So yeah, you would better just keep working till you're right about to pop out a baby. Sorry. Yeah, that's true. Also, Korean movie industry is dominated by male-centric movies, films. Yeah, I just don't see enough movies being led by women, while dramas are most always female characters' perspective. Again, completely agree. Okay, let me see if I missed out on anything because I've been yapping for so long. Wow, it's almost an hour and a half. I sometimes don't realize the power of my own yappability. Let me see if I've missed out on something. Oh, one other thing that the J-drama did away with, which I was really happy about, was the connection that they had in the webtoon and the K-drama, where they shared a mother, kind of. As in, the Misa character's mom leaves her to go and marry the Reina character's, like their other version's father. And so Misa's mom becomes Reina's stepmom. But either way, both children have a pretty miserable life, which is why Reina's other versions usually seek this other kid out because they're supposed to be equally miserable. I just didn't think that was necessary. It was overly complicated and really essentializes the whole, oh, mother's abandoning child thing. I have so much to say about that because the statistics don't back up the rate of abandonment by mothers that dramas really like to harp on. So yeah, they completely did away with that. Instead, you have Reina being abandoned basically by both her parents, and you have, and of course, oh my god, I completely forgot the way Reina watched her mom die. How did it just occurred to me right now. She wasn't just, like, Reina let go of Misa's hand and she died. Like she jumped to her own death. Yes, it happened the exact same way her mom died. Heck, I don't have a screenshot of this. I don't know why this is hitting me so hard. I have goosebumps. I like that they have this, I think. Yeah. Because the little kid, Reina, comes home and she watches her mom end her, and even the dialogues were the same because her mom said it was your fault. It's all your fault. And then she just dives back into her death. That's what Reina tries to do to Misa. Because she was traumatized by her mom's death and her mom saying that it was all her fault. She tries to do exactly the same thing to Misa. It was all your fault, and then falling back to her death. Is it just affecting me? I had not made that connection until right now. This is kind of why I really like this drama and wanted to talk about it. I feel like the more I think about it, the more connection points I can find in the story. Apparently, the J-drama was in production even before the K-drama. And they had a pretty long time to develop the story. They had watched the K-drama. They were making sure they didn't make the same mistakes as the K-drama. But the story independently was always supposed to have more meaning, more layers, a more grounded, centered treatment, where Misa and Reina's relationship, as insanely effed up as it was given due respect, in that relationship had meaning for both of them. Very different, very wounding, very destructive meaning, but it wasn't treated as just a setup for a different story. It was threaded throughout the series. Hoi. Was Reina's mom going through depression? Honestly, it seemed that way, didn't it? Like, her mom seemed very much not able to regulate her emotions and was blaming her child for all of the miseries of her own life. So possibly we can't diagnose a fictional character, but she seemed depressed. She seemed not right, and definitely going untreated with whatever was not right. Spoiler alert, character elements for Yu Sang-ha, who faced sexism at work, and Jang Hee-won, who is a survivor of SA. Yeah. It's difficult to get female creatives in the film industry, in the South Korean film industry, simply because of how inherently sexist the structure is. Because the men, there is also like a weird sexist divide between the drama industry and the movie industry. Once Netflix came in and other streaming channels came in with a lot of money, suddenly they were like, hey, we have money. Do you film directors and writers want to come and make shows? Which is how you got a bunch of shows like Hellhound, etc. Just very with aesthetics and storytelling that is clearly taken from the movie industry and doesn't have much to do with the drama industry. Why was it that Netflix came in and handed that money to the men who were directors and writers in the movie industry? Because that's how the industry's connections work. The drama industry is supposed to be, geared for women. That's just, the Ajumas watching TV. It's why would prestigious directors and writers want to make anything for them? And the silly women who write for them, they also get paid like crap, by the way. The top writers, the top female writers, whenever we fans, we learn the fact that 90% of the writers of the K-drama industry are women, we are like, oh my God, win for feminism. But A, just because women are writing the story doesn't mean they're writing feminist stories. Also B, majority of those writers get paid like crap. Only the top writers can actually, get paid really well. But most of the writers are salaried employees of production companies. They get paid a set amount. They're not raking in the dollars when their dramas do well. They have to reach a certain level of prestige before they can do that kind of thing. Okay. Yeah. Did Reina's mom hate Reina so much? It seemed that she did. We were never told why. And possibly Reina didn't know why. She lost her parents really young, right? So she never really had the chance to have those conversations. And we just don't know. Just like Misa didn't have enough interest in Reina's backstory to know, none of us were really that interested in Reina's backstory either. We were just interested in getting Reina out of Misa's life. She is more complex than Sumin. I agree. Sumin's motivations were, first of all, not fleshed out that damn well. And also, later on, like after the drama finished, I realized how much Sumin's femininity was demonized. Like her being like this sweet, doll-like creature, making someone like her be deeply evil. That has always been a trope that men have used in cinema because it's supposed to be shocking for such a sweet creature to have like evil thoughts. And I kind of felt like that's where her characterization sort of ended. And it was the actress who elevated her character, and it wasn't really the text that was that interesting. Yeah. It is deeply sexist, whether you are in the drama industry or the film industry. But, yeah. But still, we actually get more, you know, because we get more stories written by women in the drama industry, we get to see more perspectives of women, which is always preferable to what we get in the film industry, which is which barely has women as characters as anything. They are either dying and have to be, you know, avenged by the men, or they are. I don't know. They're never very interesting in Korean movies. Occasionally, there'll be a movie that's centered on the woman, but it's made by a man, so she might as well be a man because that is the level of nuance we get. Like, it doesn't matter, her gender doesn't come into play much. I just have a really bad impression of Korean movies, but if you guys watch Korean movies and you have watched really good ones that I'm missing out on, absolutely, like, if you're watching a replay, leave me recommendations. I am willing to try stuff, I'm willing to change my mind, but so far, have not enjoyed Korean movies much. Oh yeah, I forgot that line. She does say that. The webtoon version, I enjoyed the webtoon version. Again, even though the webtoon version had a more makjangi version, like more melodramatic stuff was happening, much like it was happening in the K-drama. But because they weren't constantly amping up the stakes, trying to outrun the morality of what the protagonists were doing, instead, even till a very late point in the story, Jiwon was kind of protecting Ji-hyuk. Because Jiwon understood that there were certain things she needed to do that were not right, and she didn't want to not how shall I put it, she didn't want to pull Ji-hyuk into that kind of guilt and misery. So she wasn't hiding. So it was a conversation, like she was telling Ji-hyuk, I have to do certain things, please don't ask questions until this point. And because Ji-hyuk's character in the webtoon actually did trust her, like he was stalkery, but mostly to protect her. but he did trust her to do her thing. So he was there as support, but he wasn't like jumping in to interfere or overly abuse his power, honestly. So I thought, like, if you watch both the J drama and the K drama, and like if you can imagine a happy middle, that's where the webtoon is. So for a lot of people, the webtoon can never be trumped because it just does things. Yeah, it's very entertaining to read, and it doesn't. How can you read the webtoon version? I think you'll find it online or webtoon.com. It should be free to read because it's completed. So you should just go to webtoon.com. You should be able to read it for free. Or at least you should be able to read the first 15 chapters for free. I think some of them get monetized after that. I read it back when it was running, so I read the whole thing for free. The side characters, well, actually, good question. I completely forgot there were side characters. I did like that the colleague who had cancer, her storyline played out interestingly. The fact that she had cancer was not a death sentence. But then if you think about it, for Misa, her cancer had progressed to a point where she would have died from it. But that's not what killed her, right? So the fact that the colleague doesn't get killed by the cancer works. In terms of the substitution rule, she got cancer. It was the exact same kind of cancer, except she got, it was caught earlier than Misa's had been, so she got treatment on time, which is fair. There was no cancer death to substitute there. The friend, yeah, and also I was really happy that she decided to divorce. I found it really interesting that when she was telling her friends about, how her husband changed his ways and he's taking care of their child and he is being so good, so nice, da da da. And her friends like, oh, so you decided to forgive him? And she's like, no, I had just submitted the divorce papers. I was like, yes. First of all, good. But also, I liked this better because the idea that Minhwan's cheating, like in the K-drama, Minhwan's cheating ways can just be taken and put, like a carbon copy of it can just be stamped onto a different marriage and a different man, felt, I don't know, too pat and not particularly fun. So this was actually, I like this better. The fact that the guy, yes, he was a cheater, but he also had enough of a conscience to act as a proper father to his child while his wife was recovering. Something we know that Tomoya would never be. Tomoya was completely ignoring Misa while she was suffering. So yeah, they don't necessarily have to. Not all cheaters have to be the exact same kind of people. It's not a message I thought I needed to learn, but the drama gave it to me. And the sister and the chef, honestly, too much in the background. I enjoyed the sister's character, but I did not care enough about her romance. I mean, it was there. That's pretty much it. Did I miss out on any side characters? Those are the only side characters I can think of right now. I also liked how Wataru's entire, his entire career, the fact that he takes over the restaurant business and stuff, he doesn't particularly care. Like, he doesn't particularly care to change that trajectory in his life. All he wants to do is make a few better decisions, like how to survive the pandemic for the restaurants that were under his business. So he helps them do that with home deliveries and things like that. Just there were just small changes. It wasn't like this huge thing that he needed to do, win his grandfather's approval and all of that. He was just like, I just want to make better business decisions. So I liked that. I also liked that Misa and Wataru, after the whole Reina's death thing happened, he went back to science, yes, but also part-time as an academic. Like, it's not like he completely gave up his It's not like he completely gave up his job and just ran off to academia. Instead, he's trying to balance and do both, which seems to be giving him joy. Like he seems to be pretty happy. So I like that. I like that a lot. I also like that Misa kept working for the company for a few years, and when she was comfortable, she chose to leave the job so she could reopen the confectionery. I like that. I like that they paced it well. There was no sudden action. It actually felt like they were savoring all of the time they got together, the second chance. The fact that they had waited to propose to each other for 10 years didn't seem all that important to me. It's not like they hadn't begun their life together. They were with each other this entire time. The only thing they hadn't done was marry, and maybe because that date in 2025 has significance for them. They want to be completely burden free before they got married. That's a perfectly valid, very personal decision. But I thought those 10 years were not spent just waiting. They were spent together, enjoying each other, watching movies together, enjoying music together, eating together, just doing all of the things they love together. I really like that. He also does his research degree as well. Yeah, he seemed to go back to academia, and then he was also doing research. I don't know how quickly he went through things, but he seemed to, like, they showed us, they jumped points in those 10 years. So I suppose at one point we saw him getting a new degree, and then at a later point researching how to grow plants in the desert, which he likes plants, we know that. I feel like he also had his own path and wishes separate from each other. Yeah. I also really liked that it wasn't just Misa's dead dad who was like ferrying people from the afterlife to, the before life 10 years back. That Wataru's mom also came back, and he had a moment with her because it seemed so unexpectedly sweet. It was just, I like that they gave him these moments, because why should all of these moments just be for Misa? Like, this guy also, he didn't have a tough life, but he was never happy in his first life. He got his second chance, and he spent almost the entire time rooting for Misa and trying to do good things. So as a person, I really like Wataru Suzuki, so I really appreciated them giving him a life, things he loves, and people who love him, including his mom, who's a ghost. Oh yeah, and the fact that they saw Dad in the car, they both saw him. Yeah, I love that. He's still ferrying people from their afterlife to wherever. Just he's still driving that taxi. I found that really sweet. But also, it's possible that he had just come to see them, on that date, because that date was significant not just to Wataru and Misa, but also to Dad. It's kind of like saying a final goodbye. From now on, I'll be greeting Grace on the bottom. Yeah. Stuff you learn while watching dramas. They were learning who the other was slowly while fighting their time. I liked it, especially after reading Steve. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Guys, I think I should let you go. I can talk for a while longer, but at this point, I feel like people need to probably go do other stuff, like eat and sleep and, I don't know, enjoy their weekend. I don't think I missed out on anything. Let me check my notes. I've covered all of the major points that I wanted to cover. Yeah. Okay, I actually think I've gone through all of my notes. Thank you for being on this live stream. I am going to wrap up now and, you know, let all of us leave. If you think of any other insights that I have missed out on, because I feel like the longer I think about this drama, the more things will occur to me. It was just, yeah, they did such a good job with this drama. Like I can't get over the fact that they were just, this drama in the original, the story in the original text was not this layered. They really, really worked hard to make it what it is in this drama. And I can rewatch this. I can't rewatch the K-drama because, you know, everything there is so heightened and plot dependent. I remember exactly what comes after because it's very consequence based. A happens, so B happens, therefore D happens. It's kind of like that. With the J drama, it's less about, oh, this happens, so this gets triggered and this happens. It's more about the conversations they have. Like, do you guys remember the first time Misa and Wataru talk in episode 1 or 2, I think, where they are standing on that bridge in the company and Wataru deliberately angers Misa and she has an outburst and he's like, oh, so you can get angry. And all he's trying to do at that point is to push her so she starts making different choices. And at that point, he had given her that toffee and said, do you remember how it was? Like when you were a child, you could have a toffee and be happy. And then when he decided on his suicide murder and Misa stops him, she gives him a candy and is like, do you remember when it was when you were a child, how easy it was to be happy? Again, I've talked about this so much, the parallels, but how deliberate and careful and just considerate they were with these mirroring. Like they truly want these characters to grow and lean on each other and learn from each other, and you get that sense when you're watching the drama. So I can rewatch it for this stuff, to make more connections every time I watch it. Okay, bye. I'm gonna go feed myself, feed my dogs. Bye.